everybody. Welcome to the IronTrap podcast. I self-sabotaged.
Yes, you did.
I haven't had any dog bones in the office for quite a while, and I stupidly brought them in, and Moon was already in here, and he smelled them and instantly
Not
knows.
smooth at all.
And now he knows that I have more bones in my pocket. I think he's counted them with his nose.
Yep.
So if you see Moon wandering around begging for me,
Yes,
and I yell at
pestering
him. Yes.
Relentlessly.
Tried putting his bone in here, but he's not interested. Yeah.
So,
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. What's up, guys?
We're
back
not,
in the home studio.
Yes. If you're not familiar, we do a podcast once a week. Sometimes it's in a hotel room. Sometimes it's somewhere else.
Mostly it's in this office right here.
Mostly in this office. Pretty nice. We got it all set up now with the equipment and got some heaters in here. I don't have my air and heat in this upstairs garage yet, since the mill has taken some of the
sucked all of the money.
All the money that I had that might have been spare for other things. Moving my mic around here. So that's what's going on. We're back from Oklahoma.
Yep.
If you guys didn't check it out, the first video came out
Friday. Today is Friday.
Today is Friday. So if you haven't checked that out, pretty fun road trip. There was a lot of footage and a lot we did that didn't even make the footage or make the cut in the video. Yeah. So we'll be we were talking about it on the trip. We're probably going to do a wrap-up podcast on that whole estate.
Yeah.
Eventually, I think we're going to wait a little bit at least, but because we're still going through stuff, so I'm sure there'll be things we can add to the storytelling as
yes. And if you're listening to this audio comes out Sunday. Today's actual video is us packing from the trip because somebody made some purchases that threw a wrench in our initial plans. So go check that video out. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
We made some magic happen.
Literally, you see the and I love American Pickers, so I'm not saying this like I'm angry at them, but they do like the freestyle.
Yeah.
So we joke about that because some of it was probably prefab, it was kind of fabricated reality.
Definitely.
This stuff I bought totally was not. Nothing we do is ever fabricated, so it was just kind of off the cuff. Unfortunately, we don't film. I don't wear the freaking glasses all the time, so I didn't get the conversation, but how it happened. But we thought it would be cool. We'll do a podcast on all of that because there's so much to talk about with that estate and that trip and everything else. So, but yeah, check out those videos. They're pretty cool. We're going to have a ton of neat stuff we brought back to sell. Yep. We've teased a bunch of it on social media, so if you don't follow us on Instagram or Facebook, you probably should because we tease a lot of neat stuff where there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that we don't post in videos, or even the week in the life of sometimes that stuff doesn't get posted. So we post all that, and a lot of people comment in our videos that kind of follow our social, like, oh, I saw this a week ago. I've been excited for this video. So that's why we're doing some of that. So pretty fun.
And next week's podcast, on the tail end of our trip, we made a trip to Chicago and visited with Jordan Beller of the Beller Museum. So next week's podcast is going to be Matt interviewing Jordan. Great podcast, super interesting dude, crazy collection. It was well worth the slight detour to go up to Chicago to visit him. It was amazing.
Romeoville.
That mic stand's been there for like years now.
I don't know. I'm having trouble here. But he's I guess suburbs of Chicago. I didn't realize how far from actual Chicago was till we were driving home, and
it's like 45 minutes to an hour outside.
But we stopped at his collection. It's like a collection / museum, appointment only type deal. But his the guys that work for him basically reached out to us and said, you really need to stop here. Years now, me coming to the Allsup store for Eastwood, people were telling me about his collection. I just never could make time or schedule.
It's not far from Allsup, is it?
No, it's not real far. It's 45 minutes, 40 minutes with traffic. We stopped there in the spring, I guess it was, or the summer, and had a visit, and we just had a great time. He's such a good dude. His health has been up and down a little bit. So like when we were there last time, he was probably not feeling as good. So this time he was feeling a lot better, and his humor for the podcast is great. He's just like he's actually a pretty funny guy.
Yes, he is.
And a character. So we enjoyed that. So we're going to try and get to do more of those type of podcasts where we get interesting people. We've had a lot of people reach out to do the podcast with us, and 90% of those people are looking for a way to put themselves on a platform to promote their business or their whatever they're doing. Ours is kind of the exact opposite of a lot of podcasts. We're like, Jordan has no interest in promoting himself, really. Like, I had to be like, so when do you guys let people in the museum? He's like, you just got to call and see if anybody's around. Like, I love that. Like, I love eccentric people that don't give a shit, because I feel like I'm kind of the same way. It's like,
You're on that trajectory.
Yes. So we kind of let our guests that we find be natural. Like, we did Titus. It was like we were passing through, super interesting guy. He's not really looking to promote anything about himself, but he loves talking about the hobby and his storytelling, and he's passionate about the hobby. It's like, those are the people we want to talk to, not the guy that has a startup hot rod parts business and wants to promote it. Now, if you do have that and you're interesting, of course, but we try and keep this fun. I don't want to turn it into something serious. We're not charging money to have you on. I don't know. So we might have people that nobody knows about, but we think are interesting. So
like me.
Like Mike, and Steve and myself. We're not really that interesting. But other news.
Black Friday's coming up.
Calendar pre-order.
Yes, calendars are live on the website. You can pre-order it now.
Make sure you get on that.
Pre-order ends the Sunday after Black Friday. I think it's like November 30th or 31st.
Yeah.
Then we'll place an order, we'll get them in, and they will go out after Thanksgiving. So do not order one and then email me a week later and ask, why hasn't it shipped yet?
Yep.
After Thanksgiving, they will ship. Black Friday, the code is built into the website. You don't have to enter anything. Just go to checkout. 15% will be deducted at checkout. You don't have to do anything magical. It works all on its own. We did the same thing last year, and it was great. It was seamless. No extra BS to deal with.
We're not web people, so like we just try and make it simple. And we know a lot of our customers are not always as internet savvy as other businesses customers. So we try and make it easy where you just buy something, pay for it, and it's going to take it off at the checkout page. You'll have it. So that's set up. We are starting to list some of our stuff from Oklahoma and some of our last little adventures and picks. So there's actually been, with Luke helping us now, I feel like we're getting a lot more new product is getting listed daily almost. So if you guys don't, follow our Instagram page, it's IronTrap Finds, Finds. Mike usually posts the really interesting stuff there first. And then also our web store or our eBay kind of mirror each other. You can irontrapgarage.com or our eBay page is IronTrap Garage. You can find, we're listing stuff all the time. So that's.
And if you need direct links, if you're watching this or listening to this, go to the description. There's direct links to our website and to Instagram if you need it.
There you go. That's pretty much our sales pitch and all our stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. Yep.
I think that's it. Yep. I don't know. We may think of something as we're talking, but so today's podcast is I think we actually had maybe somebody ask us for this one, so we kind
of did something similar in the past where we focused on a specific magazine in a year, and they kind of asked, what is your favorite overall?
Like what car literature? I feel like our channel is helping with how much we talk about car literature, and we also obviously find it and sell vintage books and magazines and stuff related to early Fords and hot rods and customs and stuff. So I feel like we've kind of created a interest similar to our own, that people maybe didn't think about looking at car literature or books as much. If you start like everything in this hot rod and antique car hobby, if you start like going down the rabbit hole, like there's guys that like obsess over every magazine, every early hot rod. I do it casually, but there's people that are like really, really, that's what their niche is, and they go after finding every book, every Don Montgomery book, I do collect it, but it's like as we find it. I'm not going to go nuts and get in a bidding war on eBay for the last Don Montgomery book I don't have. But if I find it casually, I will.
Do you have all the Don Montgomerys?
No, hell no. Yeah, there's a fair amount of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't have all of them for sure. We decided it would be a good one, basically to talk about some of the car literature that we use. It's also timely. A lot of our podcasts are timely, so it's coming into wintertime here. I rarely ever look at a book or magazine during the summer because I'm out doing outside things and all that stuff. But then when it gets into the winter, a lot of times at night, it's like you watch TV. There's not a lot else to do, and like a lot of times we'll have the TV on for background noise. But I'm like, I'll just pull like my stuff's categorized like 1958 and 59 Rod and Custom. So I'll just pull that whole sleeve of books down, and for like a month, every night I'll read through 2-3 magazines and just flip through, just looking at ideas. Or if I'm focusing on a car, I'll pick something and look at a bunch of magazines from that era, just to for inspiration.
Yep.
No matter how many times you look through a lot of these magazines and books, you see something new in the background.
Always catch new details.
Yeah, so it's fun to look through, but it's also good inspiration if you're doing these types of vehicles, the nostalgia, hot rods, and all that kind of stuff. So we figured we'd talk about some of our favorites, some that we look at a lot.
Magazines and books. This covers a lot of literature, not just focusing on magazines.
Yeah, vintage and modern. And we're not going to touch on everything, but we'll just talk about a few of them. Luckily, we have like a bit of the library behind us, so I'm going to be, if you see me looking off camera, I'm like trying to remember a name of a book or something, I can look at it and it's handy, but we pulled a few.
And of course, this is all full. There's also books out there as well.
I got a bunch in the house actually that we got this summer, or actually there's a bunch right here that I had.
Oh, those are good ones we should talk about too. That's actually a good reference.
So generally, I guess the way to start this is if you're just getting into this and you're looking for I feel like that's something we get a question about often from customers, like, well, what magazine should I buy, or what books, or what reference material? And it's much like if people call us asking about what parts to build a car. It's like, I don't know what you're trying to build or educate yourself on, but so, for instance, we get a lot of calls of people, they're looking to build their first Model A with a flathead V8 type vehicle. And it's like, well, if that's what your focus is and you're trying to learn, not necessarily be inspired to build a certain type of car, then, business number. What we usually tell people is like, if you're trying to learn, then you want to focus on say a Vern Tardell book.
Yes.
And one thing I just had this conversation with a person at an event recently. I have on purpose avoided giving out specific details from a Vern Tardell book because I do highly value what he did for the hobby by putting all his series of books out. So you will not see us do a video with exact measurements how doing a Tardell step. A lot of Vern's information in the books is stuff that's actually in these old magazines in some shape or form, but he puts it into here's how to do it, here's how he did it. A lot of information in all these books, all of this stuff is out there if you look in multiple shapes or forms. So we're very specific that I don't want to give out exactly how to do anything that's in his book because he still sells those books. I think I value what he does. I can respect that he's making some money off of doing those books in some shape or form still.
Yes.
So Vern Tardell books is a huge one, but then we'll also reference...
Vern Tardell books are also very affordable, I will say. You can find them, his new ones are not that expensive. You can also find them secondhand at swap meets.
Very cheap. Yeah.
Very, very affordable.
We sell them occasionally when we'll get into an estate that has a bunch of books.
We just had a bunch of Carlisle from an estate.
We just put them out there. It's not it's just a lot of times we're buying ephemera or literature. It's basically going to go in the trash if we don't buy it at a lot of these estates. So we buy the stuff and we just mark it down to really affordable. And
I just want to mention that it's cheaper to find because some of the books we're going to cover as we go through go up in value.
Yeah, it can be very expensive.
Quite a bit. So that's a very good starting. The two that I picked out that I think are good for...
Well, the tech thing, the one, not to interrupt you, what I was getting at is there's also vintage tech books.
Oh, yeah.
That we have. And those, the Ford Speed Manual, how to hop up a Ford Mercury V8 engines. There's a ton of them.
Climber put out a ton of. There's 4 different volumes of these and a Model A. Yeah, and there's early V8 book.
And there's a ton of different cover versions. So again, when you get into the nerdiness of just collecting literature, I don't know, that Ford Speed Manual, there's 5 different covers of it, and there's even modern reprints with different,
hard cover versus soft cover.
Yeah. So those books are great because they give a lot of the information that you want to know about a flathead V8 and hopping it up and
engine and chassis stuff as well.
So those are good for tech. So we kind of, when somebody's saying, "Oh, I want to just learn about how to do putting a early hot rod together mechanically and learning about the nuts and bolts of it," those are the books that we try and tell people.
Yes.
And whether you get them secondhand or you buy them new, I don't really give a shit. That's just
again very affordable. They're like $10 or $15 for a copy.
So many of them, yeah. That they made so many copies of them that they're like everywhere.
Yes.
So if you just start looking, either we're gonna have one for sale in a matter of a month, or
I'm trying to think, we might have some of the early V8 like chassis or hot rod building ones on the website from Climber.
But so those are good. But so for books, not interrupt you.
No, I thought I didn't realize what we were segueing to. That's my fault.
That's okay.
These are two very good. These are more modern printings by Tex Smith for doing like inspiration. Very affordable. And there's 2 volumes. The first one,
I think there actually might be 3, but they're actually by Tom Medley, who wrote the books.
You're right. By Tom Medley,
Yeah.
from Tex Smith.
Tex Smith's like the climber type thing.
So that's right. There is a third one. I forget what it is.
I don't have that. It's pretty.
I think the third one's hard to find, but these 2 are very
easy to find.
Affordable. They have great photos from Bonneville, from the Dry Lakes, like really good early photos.
Yeah, and you when you start buying some of this literature and books, you're going to start noticing that there's a lot of photos, really iconic photos that are regurgitated in a bunch of these books. So some of the photos you see in there may be some that were actually a Don Montgomery photo or somebody else's photo, or Don Montgomery took almost the same photo at the same year at a different angle. But it's really neat to look through that stuff and the context they give with, what's going on there, or the year, or the way they lay it out is pretty interesting. So those ones are.
This one also gives good history. Like there's a whole section on Ed Winfield, told by Kong Jackson. There's a whole section on Kong Jackson himself.
Yes.
So it gives you a lot of like good history on the early days of hot rodding and the people
and these guys were writing these books when the true pioneers and legends were all still alive, or a lot of them were. So like Kong Jackson, and that was during a time when those guys were still alive. They were happy to talk about it. And some of the books that have been written more recently, those people are gone, and we're losing a lot of the OGs, unfortunately.
Yeah, this one covers Wally Parks, Alex Exidius, Tom and Bill Spaulding, a bunch of the OGs from the Dry Lakes and racing days.
So that's cool because those guys give their background, how they saw it, what was going on. So all these books, like I said, sometimes the photos they're in a few places. They might be in Hot Rod Magazine. Originally, it was a photo taken for that, and then it's.
I honestly have these books just to look at the photos. I never really read them.
Yeah,
I'm like a toddler. I'm just looking at the photos.
A lot of times I do that too because I'm more looking for inspiration on how to do a certain thing. But those books, if you want a book that just like immerse yourself in the early hot rodding world,
yes,
those books are good ones. The 3 series of those. The first one's really easy to get. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
If you search Amazon or you search eBay, or like I said, there's a lot of guys reselling them like us. You see them show up at flea markets quite often. Those books are really, really good. And they kind of just cover the gamut. They're not going to get as fine of details about specific.
Yeah, like this. The second one goes more into street rods and the T-bucket era of the 60s and 70s. Like here's Brizzio's. I forget what that one's called. The
panel.
The panel, yeah. So it covers. This does more of this one's called the glory years. So it goes into the 60s and 70s, and then a little bit into the 80s of street rods. But it's a really.
Yeah, it's a nice, they touch on it a little bit, but if those 2 series are, or versions.
We got to find you the third one.
Yeah, I don't even know what the third one's about, to be honest.
Doesn't pop up very often. I kind of forgot there was a third one until just now.
I saw it recently, and I was like, oh, wow, I forgot about that. So those are good. There's a number of different. I have like I'm looking on my thing here. There's a bunch of books that are written, like the
Custom cars of the 50s, hot rods of the 50s are another two good.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Can you grab that one? Like the custom cars of the 50s. Or do you have the Forgotten Hot Rods one?
No,
It's in there. I just did my review. I grabbed it.
I did not.
It's oh man, where the heck is that book?
Might be out there.
It's a really good one. Yeah, it might be out there. Again, there's so many books that it's like I'm thinking of one. I'm like, ooh, we should have shared that one, but we can't show.
These are done by Andy Southard.
Yeah.
Southard, not sure how to pronounce, but these are another two.
Again,
Great photo books.
He did a series of books.
He did one on Barris. Did he do one on Winfield too, I think?
I don't think so. But he has a bunch of these like customs of the 50s, hot rods of the 50s.
There's a Barris one over there.
Yeah, I don't think he did a Winfield one, but there's a bunch of them. I think it's his photos.
Yeah.
Basically that he took over the years.
Color and black and white.
Yeah. And those really get into it's more about the photos than the text on them.
Yes.
So those are all really good. But
killer, like high gloss, full page.
Yeah, you're getting more like better quality photos. Like they were able to scan some of the color, the color positives or whatever, and get these really high quality scans in them. And those books are great because that's where you can really, I love the color ones from the 50s because it's like a lot of the old magazines, they didn't have color. They only had the feature car was color or only the cover was color. So it's really cool to be able to see some of those photos in color so you can see what were the colors of these cars, and you can really get a feel of, some of the like 50s pastel kind of colors you were
definitely
getting.
everything.
I call them bubblegum colors,
It's nice just to see like the shades of color because otherwise black and white you can't really tell.
Yep.
Like it's blue. Like, well, I'd like to see the exact hue of like how. Oh, there's your favorite.
Oh yeah, that Roadster pickup photo is amazing. Again, that's a photo that's been I guess it's one of Andy's photos, I'm guessing, but it's been posted so many times at all these places. You've probably seen them on social media. A lot of these photos have been reposted, on the internet, but it's cool to have them in one place. But I like those books are good because of the high quality of the printing on them is really good. Where if you look at some of these older books, and even some of the magazines, the definition isn't there. So it's also sometimes nice. You could see how, I don't want to say shitty, but you could see the realistic quality of some of these cars when you look at them when they're in a higher...
like those photos are crystal clear.
Yeah, it's great. So you could actually see those cars and be like, that car has a dent there, or there's like rust starting to form. Or
even the cover car.
Yes.
It's got dirt all over the front of it from driving on a back road probably.
Yeah. And that's a high end, that was a pretty good quality hot rod, and it's not perfect. It's dirty, it's being used, it's so it's like kind of cool to see that stuff, and it gives you a snapshot. We try to talk about a lot what it was really like. It's close. If you're younger like us and you weren't there, we could see what it was really like. It's a little snapshot into that. And you can only imagine, like, that was a good car. Imagine what your average hot rod running around, small town America was like. It was much worse than that. A lot of the cars we find are those type of survivor hot rods. That are, the Schroll Coupe is a great example. That's a car that is, was a neat survivor hot rod, but it was crude and dangerous, So that's what the reality was back then. And we can get a snapshot of that.
Yes. I'm trying to see if there's any other. A lot of this.
I like the indoor car show photos that are colored
just
too.
Paging through it. There's the a la carte.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And what's nice is the text next to the photos is actually explaining the photo, where Andy took it, the story behind the car, and it does break down a little bit of the car build itself, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, and I like.
Oh yeah, there's a Tony La Russa. Tony Mesa Roadster.
There's a lot of there's a lot of good stuff when you start looking in the background of the indoor car show
Yeah.
photos. A lot of times I'm looking, I'm like, oh, what's that thing back there? You know, it's got a crazy headlight bar set up on it. And it's just neat. Sometimes the car in the focus isn't all these books you could say that, like especially the Dry Lakes type books from, you know, multiple people that put them out. The background's almost as good as the
oh yeah,
as the photos.
especially the Dry Lakes, because you're looking past the dedicated race car and all the stuff that's just parked behind it. You're like,
whoa.
what's that 40 Ford back there? It's got like a padded top on it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and for me, I'm more, you know, I like old race cars and stuff, and this hobby that goes hand in hand. I'm also more, probably my own cars that I'm building, I'm more interested in like the street cars that were running around, or maybe a car that drove on the street on the weekdays, and maybe they drag raced it for fun on the weekends type thing. So those cars that are parked in the parking lot or in the pits, or, you know, is the push vehicle, like that's the stuff that I'm always looking at the photos for. And, you know, of course the famous Dry Lakes cars we all drool over, but, you know, that's kind of where I'm at. So those are good. Any of those
again, very affordable, like 10, 15, 20 bucks each. So this is all good stuff to buy, like especially a swap meet. You can find it for dirt cheap, and they're good. These are good like coffee table books too.
Oh yeah.
Whereas like old magazines can be a little smelly. Sometimes they fall apart when they're used a lot.
Fragile.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I kind of like
the smell.
I kind of like the smell in old magazines.
But
depends on your household.
These are good like coffee table books. So you
Yes.
let these sit out and
thumb through them
as needed. Yeah.
Or bathroom books.
Yes.
I need to swap mine out because in my bathroom I've had the same like Rotters journals for like 10 years.
Yes, they've been in there a pretty long time.
So I need to swap out some books or something. But
yeah.
So they're good for that. They hold up a little better because they're not as fragile and old, whereas some of the magazines are. So as far as some of the magazines that you need to have or you should be looking at,
that's a very slippery slope.
Yeah, when people ask us about that, I always tell them it's the same question. What are you looking to build? What are you looking to be inspired by? And then that's what you should focus on, and sit down and think about like what type of car or whatever. So if you're looking to build a 50s era street car kind of hot rod, then you're going to want to be looking at magazines from that era. Now, a lot of the magazines cover similar stuff, but you'll find a bunch of the titles, they do vary on what type of cars they show.
Yep.
So once you start understanding that, you can maybe aim for finding those more so than, some of the popular ones. So the thing to remember is Hot Rod magazine, rather. They were showing, Hot Rod since the beginning has pretty much been the best of the best for the most part. So in Hot Rod, you're going to see the most famous, most iconic cars, the biggest car events. You're going to see the big, West Coast shows.
And the trends.
Yeah.
So like what was popular in 58, you're going to see it hammered in a bunch of the different issues.
Yes.
That's the focus of that year per se.
And eventually what you start to notice with Hot Rod, as like I have, January of 49 here, and with SoCal belly tank on it. It's like that. In the early days, they were like hammering the Dry Lakes thing super hard. But when you look at Hot Rod, they pretty much through times, it just went to like Bonneville.
Yeah.
And it was like they were just hammering on Bonneville. But as the years went on, it was like, it wasn't every issue in the early ones is just hammering that Dry Lake stuff. The advertisements that, there were some street cars, but it was like really heavily focused on land speed racing and Dry Lakes and drag racing. But then as the years went on, you started to notice that they were like showing more street cars or more drag racing. So 10 years later, that's January of 49, January of 59. Again, it's still showing race cars on the front. But I think they probably got smart enough of like, what do kids want to see? Kids or young men.
Yep.
And yes, females were into it. I'm just, if like we're in a day and time where I have to say this stuff.
Yes.
Majority of what they were probably looking at was young men. What they were looking at, draw them in. So race cars since the beginning of time is what draws you in. So 10 years later, they're still showing race cars on the cover, but you're going to start to see more like street cars in it. And even what you started to see once you got into the later years, Hot Rod got so big, they were getting crazy money, in advertising deals and stuff. So, for instance, in '59, they're doing an article on the Studebaker Lark. Very not hot rodding car. They were bouncing between just being an automotive magazine.
Yep.
But you know that this was probably in some shape or form was a paid sponsorship.
Yep.
And that's why they were doing the Studebaker in there. So that part of it's a little hard at the later the magazine gets on. In Hot Rod, you feel like you get like 2 or 3 articles that are good, and then there's all kinds of fluff in the magazine.
And honestly, for what we're into, everything Hot Rod pre-60 is pretty decent. Later in the late 50s, 59, 58, 59, it's going towards more quote-unquote muscle car or later stuff. But up until about 60, you can still get a lot of good like early hot rodding photos and information. But once you hit 60, it kind of just totally...
They're just all the time it starts getting into where it's more like a paid promotion, or they were trying to, I think, stay ahead of the trends.
Yeah.
So you start seeing some stuff that's just like weird, not weird, just like there was a period of time where the go-kart thing was like huge. So they were showing a bunch of that. Rod and Custom went nuts with the go-kart thing.
I think they did a go-kart episode or issue every year.
They did a go-kart magazine. I don't have any of them, but there was like a karting or something little book. But you start seeing that. But like even in '59 here, I'm paging through. The majority of it is still racing oriented. There's not,
and you can't blame Hot Rod. They were keeping up with the trend of what was, current that year, coming out that year, car wise.
That's your car.
Oh yeah, look at that. There's a cabriolet.
It's a white 34 cabriolet with a. We'll have to drop a photo. It's hard
small
to see.
block Chevy.
With a deuce grill on it and probably a small block Chevy. I can't see. Need my glasses. Pretty sure it is. Could be Caddy. No, yeah, it's Chevy. Yeah, 56 Chevy engine. So, but this is cool because, there's a great... This one magazine is worth it for, like, say, Mike, for this one article because you have almost your car and you can look at it for ideas. Like, what did they do? It's a channeled car. How did they do the interior? Like something that's interesting to me on this is, like, how do you do the, like, inner sill on a channel car to make it look finished? Because when you open the door, it's like...
A lot of times it was just a frame rail.
Yeah, it's just a frame rail. So how'd they do it? So on here, they have an actual carpeted panel that was laying over the frame rail or whatever that is on the inside and looks finished. So it's like, that kind of gives you a jumping point of like, okay, that's in '59, that's how it was done. And that at least gives you an idea. A lot of this, I don't want to copy it. I just want to use it as a jumping point of what was
Inspiration.
done. Yeah. But it's still very heavy on race cars. I mean, it's maybe this particular issue I picked.
I think Hot Rod's always been heavy on drag racing and racing in general.
But you see more how-to stuff going in there. I think very quickly after the early first year or two, they started realizing that the how-to stuff was really popular, so they started going heavy into that. But this particular issue...
Oh, they did it in this too. This is building a hot rod. It's talking about setting up a 32 chassis.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I just scanned past that and forgot about it.
It's because there's so many good photos. I mean, it's very just text, not a lot of photos, just like...
I think but they started going more heavy into doing the text stuff, I think, even after this.
Yeah.
Maybe because it had more pages. But there's... Like, this has multiple tech articles in this that are, a few different things. Oh, here's a 1 page just on the Firehouse Favorite. It's a fireman that has a little pickup. Like, I love these. It's like, let's see if I can turn it towards you. So it's a 1-pager on just a more, like, this would be like your hometown hero, I would call it. This is the guy that's from whatever town, it probably isn't just like L.A. It might be just like a guy from Iowa. And they photographed him at a car show that he, maybe brought his car out west or something. And it's a 1-pager, and that's like the hometown hero. That he had the best car in his town, and he got it photographed. And those are the cars that really interest me also because you could see just how those guys were doing just whatever they thought was cool. And it isn't always like the show car.
Yep.
The Barris car that has the newest stuff that has been copied. I think that's the hardest thing right now, I think, in traditional hot rods or historic hot rods and customs is we're all emulating the say the 5 most famous Mercs, and everybody's chopping their car exactly like those. They're doing the same window treatment for the hardtop. They're doing the same interior, and they're all bitching. They're all amazing. But those cars, when you look at them, they are almost all cookie cutters of the Matranga Merc. 39 Mercs or 40 Mercs are on my head because of doing mine.
Yep.
And it is so easy because that car is so perfect to just emulate the windows, the this, the that, and like 99% of the car is just a different color version of the Matranga Merc, which is totally fine. But me, I've always, and a lot of people, that's what you're trying to emulate because you love that car. Fine. I'm usually trying to build something that's uniquely mine if it's not a historic car. So I'm trying to do some of those trends that we love, but find some little things that you can do that makes a car yours. Because that, to me, we talk about a bunch in podcasts and videos and stuff. Like, there's some of these famous cars, even though the cars changed hands and colors and been modified, there's certain things on that car that were done in the first version that are so good or so perfect that years later somebody finds that car and they're like, well, that's definitely the Matranga Merc because of this, 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 and this.
Yep.
Where now, fast forward, there's so many cars that are done in that way, it might be harder to tell the real one from not. So, like, I'm trying to do, when I did my Merc, it was like, well, let me do some little details that are nostalgic, but maybe make that car always mine. So if somebody posts a photo of my Merc, hopefully you can always tell that that's my car because of the little differences I did, but it's still true to what the time was. So looking at these single pagers, that's where you get these little details that guy didn't follow every trend. He just was inspired by looking at the magazines, build his own car. So like the little details, like this truck
has stacks,
which was a kind of a trend you were seeing with the pickups.
Yeah, a little bit.
You saw them a lot because then they sometimes they would come up the bed, run the bed rail, and come out the back. It was kind of but that was one of those things that in this era, the pipes were as much a design part of a car or truck as everything else, as the wheels and tires. So you see all these wild headers that were cool, and these guys doing the stacks that come up or come along the bedsides. But like this one has a homemade kind of unique column drop in it. I'll hand it to you so you can see it. With a gauge in the center.
That's kind of neat.
It's when you look at the photo and you kind of like, sometimes I take a photo with my phone and zoom it in or get my glasses on, old band glasses. And you'll look at it and it's like, it's actually just looks like it's kind of, it might have been a piece of just 3 pieces of steel he welded together and he cut a hole in it. But that's a neat way to do a column drop, to get a gauge in there that isn't just the same moon drop that everybody's using or the SoCal speed drop that's a copy of the moon drop. So it's like doing those little pieces of handcrafted parts is what sets that truck apart. Now that truck isn't anything groundbreaking that's going to be able to tell it's that truck if you ever found it, but as some of these cool little details that maybe makes it. What steering wheel were they using? They weren't like, we all go to what the coolest steering wheels were, and everybody wants to put a Lincoln wheel. I'm probably going to put a Lincoln wheel on that car, so I'm also guilty of it for some stuff, but it's like, put the Lincoln wheel. But sometimes you look at it, it's like, that
just has a standard 46.8 wheel on it.
Not anything, nice looking wheel, but it's not anything crazy. But you don't have to put, the Mercury accessory wheel on every car on the planet or a Crestliner on every wheel on the planet. So it's like, sometimes simple is better. So that's where I like these one-page vehicles that are good in like hot rod. You sometimes see the better ones, but these are like they did a bunch of this like once the NHRA started, where they were in hot rod. I thought was interesting. They were going through and going to all the little towns that were doing NHRA sponsored, maybe not even little towns, just big cities, whatever, doing drag races that were NHRA sanctioned. And those are the ones where you see the little, this one's Helena, Alabama. So you're going to see some cars in here that are drag racing. This is the only time you're going to see those photos of that car, because Hot Rod didn't go to Helena, Alabama ever again.
Yes. And I will say the early Hot Rods are very Southern California based, because that's where Hot Rod started. Mm-hmm. So like this one is 49. A lot of this information in here is SCTA results and coverage, and a lot of Southern California clubs. Like there's an Oilers banquet
Yeah,
article.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so a lot of the early hot rods are very SoCal based
Mm-hmm.
information. So if
Yep.
you're like from New England and you're looking for hot rodding stuff from 49, Hot Rod may not be the place to look for it because
It's
it's
going to be
mostly
hard to find it in general.
in general, yeah. But
49,
this
yeah.
is mostly a SoCal
But
publication.
so that's hot rod. Those are good. So
I'm going to take all these home so I can snapshot, drop
yeah,
photos in as I'm
and
editing.
then I got to
this.
figure out how to put them back in organizational.
You're never getting them back.
So then when you get into so one I wanted to for best bang for your buck. Hot Rod did these annuals, these like mid-sized Hot Rod annuals, and then I think eventually they did go full size. But it was basically like they were just putting kind of like
The
there's
best
tech,
of the best.
There's tech articles in a lot of these. Actually, a lot of tech articles. But there was also some of the photos of the better cars in here, and I think it was just another way for them to get people's money because there's like there's some stuff that I think is a little regurgitated, but like this is the Hot Rod 1958 annual. And it's got some photos of, oh, that's cool. See, that's something I saw. But like, there's some race cars, there's some street cars in here, art empowered, of course.
Yep.
But what I was looking at actually is this car has I don't even know what this is. Some kind of car with a custom. It says a special. It's got like a Pierce Arrow dash in
Yeah, I
it,
can see that.
and it might even be a Pierce Arrow dash that's been kind of retrofitted.
Is it in that Model A? Or is that
I think it is in that Model A, but look at the weird steering wheel. And maybe somebody will know that wheel, and I'm just a dumbass. And don't
Let me look at it. I might know that wheel.
There's the interesting wheel. Now, maybe it's like something obscure, like a Nash or a Pierce Arrow. Or
Is it Kaiser?
maybe Kaiser? I don't know. But like those, sometimes I feel like the annuals, they also put these photos in that didn't make an original magazine.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe they shot that car for a 57 or 58, but they're using some photos that maybe didn't make it into the original article. But like that's a good example. It's like that one little photo. You're like, well, that's a neat steering wheel. That was obviously used in a well done hot rod in in the late 50s.
Yeah, I think it's killer.
So it's like, let me go figure out. You go down the rabbit hole. What is that wheel? I would love to find that. And that's how, like the ruined Roadster, I put that Pontiac Banjo in, and it was like that was totally a wheel that I had seen before at Hershey and at swap meets, and then I saw some early Dry Lakes type era photos, and there was a 32 Roadster that had a Pontiac Banjo in it, and then I saw another car that had a Pontiac Banjo, and I'm like, well, that's a pretty cool wheel. What is that wheel? And you start looking into it, like, oh, that's like an accessory Pontiac wheel.
35, 36, I think.
Hard to find. And it's like, well, if you're doing an early type of like Dry Lakes era hot rod, very reserved, that wheel's super cool. And then we figured out the wheel has a keyway in it, a tapered keyway, and is very similar to the Ford one. So you can just like file the keyway a little bit and it fits right on. And small modifications to like the column tube. But I was like, well, that's why I got to put it on. They just probably were like at a junker, like, that's a neat wheel.
I think that'll fit.
Yeah, and they just like put it on their hot rod. And it's like, so those little photos are like, that's the stuff that you can make a car uniquely yours while still keeping it true to the time or the nostalgia that we're going for. If you enjoy that part of the process or that part of the hobby, that's why this stuff is so important, to find these books, the magazines, all that stuff, because those are the little pieces that I enjoy when I see somebody's car and it has a unique part that I don't know what it is, or they used it in a way that I didn't think of. That's the stuff that you're like, oh man, that is so cool. And with social media nowadays, those little cars that do those little things, as soon as that comes out, you see 10 people doing it. And it's fine. I think it's how it's been since the beginning of time. A guy went to a car show in the 50s. Car did something unique. Everybody went home and tried to kind of copy it. And they're
the same thing.
Same thing. So you see it just at a faster pace now. So you'll see a guy that puts a car out and does some unique stuff. And then you see a bunch of people copying it or using it as a jump-off point. I'm guilty myself of doing it also. And you're like, wow, that's a cool way. You talk to the owner of the car, like, oh, well, I saw an old article on XYZ car, and I really liked how they did the roll pan on that, and I made a version of that. and then now everybody's doing roll pans
Yep.
that are similar to that one car. And then the only time it becomes, I feel like it makes it boring is you then see like every car has to have that style of whatever it is, and to be like cool, you need to do these three things.
There was a while there, 32 Fords. It was 44 wheels and a 44 or a steering wheel. Like
and that I think that's one that's transcended time. That's
yeah,
been
it's normal forever.
Yeah, and it's like, but you're starting to see people do different types of wheels or different things that weren't as common. Like for instance, the magnesium Hallebrand wheels. It's like a lot of the high end nostalgia hot rods or street rods have either real ones or versions of them. And when you look at these old photos, there was not that many guys rolling around.
No, they were all on steel wheels. Magnesium was a race car thing for the most part.
So it's kind of crazy. You see how many of these cars are rolling around with either, repro magnesium look wheels or real ones that are rolling around. And don't get me wrong, it all looks badass. But like when you look at some of the higher end shows, and you're like, 70% of the cars have some sort of magnesium type wheel, and they're like,
you look at the old photos, it was steel wheels or full hub, steel wheels with hubcaps.
Yeah,
so
full hubcaps.
Very rarely did you ever see any type of magnesium wheel in a show car.
Mainly, it might be a high-end show car or it was a true race car.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we're not bagging on anyone. It's just like when I'm looking at photos, I try and think about that stuff. And sometimes you're like, man, 40 Ford wheels, it just seems so whatever. But it's like, well, actually, that's what most street cars were running. And even most of the non-high-end dry lakes and race cars, drag cars, that's what they were running because it was better than a wire wheel. So that's what you could get at every junkyard was a solid wheel like that, and that's what guys were putting on. So the magnesium wheel thing is a good example of like where that really cool trend from a couple of race cars took off and everybody's hunting for them. And I mean, I have a set of Hallebrand smoothies that I've had forever. Every time I try and put them on a car, I'm like, this car, it just doesn't work because the car's not really a race car. I don't like it, and
Don't you have a set of big windows too somewhere?
I have a set of big windows that I would like to use with that blown olds and do more of like a early 60s kind of like
Mean Street.
Very, almost not even a street car, but like, there's a couple photos I saw of cars that were like, they drove them on the street, but it was probably more of a drag car type thing. And that's one where I'm probably bending the rules of like, I'm probably building more of like what a late 50s, early 60s nice drag car would have been. But I just have this picture in my head of what I want to build, and I'm going to do it. And so that's it. But so anyways, these annuals.
I don't know if you pulled any out, but Hot Rod also has a little book series. I don't know if you pulled any out. The How To. It's from the Hot Rod Library. They're over here.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them.
So basically, what they did is I think they took the how-to articles from all of the magazines and compiled it into a little book. So they're specific. So there'll be clutches, transmissions, electrical, ignition. I mean, there's a pile. There's like 100 of them.
Yeah, and I think Barris co-signed most of them. They're like it's sponsored by, or maybe he did write some of them, or photograph them or whatever. But there's a lot of neat ones, like the interior one's really cool because it's just like all these interiors from that era and how to do the different types of interior. And
again, super. They're actually, no one really buys them. You could find them for like insanely cheap, but there's literally, I think Matt has a whole grip of them, and I have a ton more that I found at a swap meet. That like, there's one that's like clutches, transmissions, and rears, and then there's one that's just clutches. There's one that's just transmissions. So like, you could get these really for the how-to side. Some of the hot rod stuff's a little bit more. It's a little bit of both inspiration and how-to, but they have this mini series that's like, if you want how-to on literally anything automotive.
I think I made a decision that I was only going to keep the ones that were like I'd actually reference, and when they got super,
there's so many. I have a stack that's like this big. I have a ton of them.
So again, if you get into collecting, literature or magazines, that's
a rabbit
I get
hole.
That. Like you want to get every single one, you got to catch them all.
Yeah.
But I some of this stuff I started looking at, I'm like, I don't know if I'd ever.
I'll bring my stack over, and you can have all the ones that you don't have already.
Great. I need to make a larger library.
Yes.
That's one of our like the ideas we had for like at the mill. What if we made an old school library?
You could check books out.
Books and magazines that you could check out for this stuff. I'd have to keep my personal library.
The magazines would be hard because they get handled enough, they start to fall apart.
True, but like if we were already putting ones that were like kind of rough anyways, it's just like it is what it is. Like we're probably only if it's a magazine that was rough enough that we'd only get a couple bucks. Who cares?
That's true.
But like that would be kind of neat to have a little library.
They'll definitely be at the mill. There'll be a rotating magazine rack with just magazines. Just look at while you're there waiting on me to go find a part or something. There'll be a little seating area with some magazines.
That's like my dream for what I would love the mill to be, is like a mix of an antique store, coffee shop, hangout spot, old hot rod shop, or speed shop kind of vibe. So it's like may put some couches around throughout the place, and if you want to just come hang out and get a cup of coffee or just
annoy me all day.
Yeah, you can annoy whoever's in the store area. It's like that would be fun to have an area with some old hot rods. If somebody wants to come and just...
We actually got totally forgot we got it. We got a huge magazine rack that we can put on one of the walls and fill with
bunch of
stuff.
Them. So it'd be kind of cool to do that. It's like having an area where
people... like some of these, reference like custom cars. If I can grab one. Custom cars of the 50s. We get these copies all the time. Mm-hmm. So like we'll probably keep a copy there. Someone looks at it and they're like, how much for the book? They're like, it's for sale. You can buy it.
Yeah, and then just next time we get one, we'll just...
That's what we'll probably do is a lot of the ephemera. We get so many books.
Yeah.
You just put them on the rack and it's like, if you see something you like, you can look at it or, it's for sale.
Yeah, if you want to just sit there and look at it and drink a cup of coffee, great. Yeah. If you want to... And put it back, great. But if you want to buy it then and after that, then that's also good.
Don't rush us. 3 to 5 years before that's a reality.
Yeah. I have all these great, huge dreams, but
it's not happening this year.
Somehow there's like time and money is always the limiting factor. Then when you get into some of the other titles that aren't Hot Rod, most of them went to Little Book other than Hot Rod. So when I'm looking around, a lot of them for the most part were...
When did Carcraft go to...
Carcraft didn't go till like the 60s.
Oh yeah, 60.
Like, I think it's 60.
Same with Rod and Custom.
Yeah, they were They were even later. 61, I think, is the first big book, so to speak. But a lot of them were little books, and when you get into... So I like the little books for... A lot of the little books have a focus. So whether it's the type of cars, regionally... if it was more how-to, then it was whatever. All these little books is like where you dive in deep and really geek out. So Rod and Custom, I think, Hot Rod's great, but Rod and Custom and Rodding and Restyling are probably two of my favorite. Rod and Custom's probably, as far as quality and the... showing a more broad spectrum.
And I think those were the other two. That and Carcraft, those three were the other early ones. They all came out in the early 50s.
They were the big Peterson.
Yeah, and then the rest, all the other publications of little books were late 50s for the most part.
Mid to late 50s.
The bigger publications. There's a lot of, you get into the nerdy stuff. There's some regional ones that were smaller that came out in the early 50s, but Rodding, Restyling, Rod and Custom, Carcraft are the three big ones that were around early with Hot Rod.
Yeah, and there's what I like about some of the, like, for instance, Rod and Custom, I just have one in front of me. Rod and Custom, I felt like had high quality cars, but it was, I don't know, maybe it's just I didn't go through every one to do this is just my brain. I think less of the race car oriented stuff, and there's more street cars also in there. Customs as well, you see a little bit in there. But the little books as a whole, you're going to see more of the less famous cars. So Hot Rod's going to be your
pinnacle.
Those are all the cars that are all super valuable. Most of them have been a lot of them are restored nowadays. And those are the cars that a lot of us are copying the trends on. These little books are the ones where you get into where this is the car that placed second or third at Autorama that year. Or an indoor show, and
you see a lot more regional shows in there too.
Yes,
you'll see like, what was the one that they did in Philly? It was the there's one of the issues in Rod and Custom or Rod and Restyling. They did a Philly show. That was an indoor show.
Indoor shows in Philly. I don't know what they were, if it had a name or what whatever.
But that's the only publication that showed it. They've never shown in Hot Rod or any others.
Right. So there's a lot of, like, I feel like in these magazines you get more of those types of cars that are
Definitely.
also, still famous,
Yep.
but like isn't maybe the
They're not
Iski.
A-list. They're more B-list.
Yeah, yeah, still really good.
Yes.
Like the Iski T. You're getting like these cars that are just like they're out of this world. Famous and copied and whatever. But you're seeing more. But then like this car, I don't even know the name or if I'm. Some of these cars, my memory is not as good. I don't remember every one, but like
Hemi
that.
powered 33.4.
Yeah, but like a Lakes style. You want to talk about trends right now?
Yeah.
Like I didn't remember this being in here, but there's randomly an article on a Lakes hard chopped Lakes style, which I feel like there's more 33.4s being built with this style chop right now than there is any other trend right now. This is the most popular
Yeah,
trend.
you're not seeing channeled 33.4s. You're seeing hard chopped Bonneville style.
Yeah,
33.4s.
and this one's might be channeled a little bit actually, but like this is a good example of like what a lot of people are kind of emulating right now with the look. And it's cool to look at these because again, this is a true early, kind of like dry lakes type car, but this is 54, but this car, was probably built a few years earlier. But it has wire wheels in the back with solid 40 Ford wheels on the front. So it's like an interesting. Everybody's putting milk truck, and I'm guilty again. People think that I talk shit. I'm targeting someone. I do some of the same stuff. So I have the milk truck style high clearance wheels in the back of my 33. I just think it looks badass with 40 Ford wheels on the front. But
Does it have 18s on the back?
I think they are, but no, I don't know if they are.
See.
You might be able to tell better than I can. They might not be.
They might have used 17s or 18s to get more.
They could be 16s with just the big Indy tires.
Yeah, they look like 16s.
So it's kind of cool to look at these because you're going to see, you're almost like shocked at like that. I'm like, wow, it's running a wire wheel. That doesn't seem.
It's also wild they let them run wire wheels on the.
I don't think it mattered. It just was what you wanted to run. But it was
Yeah.
like interesting that somebody ran a wire wheel on the back of that car. Where if you were building a version of that car today, you would either put some kind of Halbrand Indy copy wheels on it, high clearance, either 18-inch 40 Ford style, or you'd put the high clearance milk truck type wheels or artillery type wheels on that. But it's running wire wheels,
16-inch wires,
with a beauty ring.
It has
and
Indy
a hubcaps
tires on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's got the Firestone Indy tires. I feel like is something that a lot of people.
Those are half treads, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people skip over them and don't run them. That was one thing I took from these photos, and on my 33, I have some of those Repro Firestone half tread Indy type tires, which are really cool, and I don't see them used as often. But when you look at these photos, a lot of these early, like competition type cars, they were running that. So my car's probably bordering on that. I'm doing like a kind of competition style, but not trying to follow every exact trend. But this is a cool one because this is in a little book. It's not the Pearson Coupe. It's not one of the most real famous ones. Not the Crispin Coupe. This is just another car that is. I'm sure we look into it. Somebody's like, you didn't know that was the Heart Lake Coupe, and I'm like, I don't know everything off the top of my head. So, but then you skip it went from that. Now it's the Barris corner, and it's showing how to customize stock hubcaps with little like spinners and stuff, and customize your hubcap. And it's like the most simple little thing that you can do with almost no tools in your garage. And that's what they were trying to think, but it's neat to see these little details. And this stuff's like these little spinners was probably like a Cal custom part you could buy back then for cheap and put on. And like, this is the stuff you walk past at the swap meet. Some guy will have these weird little like no name flipper, accessory pieces. You're like, oh, look at that dorky thing out of J.C. Whitney. But then you look in here, it's like Barris was showing that was the thing to do.
Yep.
And once you start taking this stuff in, you're like, well, now I noticed 3 or 4 cars that had them on magazine featured cars. Like, well, maybe that's not as dorky. Like
Yeah.
we've projected that was dorky because maybe in the 70s putting those on was not cool. But like, if you wanted to do a street driven 50s kind of like high school custom, what would you have done? You would have dressed up your stock hubcaps and clipped them on.
Speaking of accessories, another cool thing with all of these Hot Rod, all these little books.
Another Arden. Holy shit.
You look through the back into the advertisements, you can notice like weird, like you said, spinner things. You just look at the advertisements and you can build your knowledge of like neat little accessories that they offered back in the day that you might look in a bin at a swap meet and just push past, and then you're like, this is that like cool accessory you could buy in the 50s for X, Y, and Z. It's on the back of a Hot Rod magazine.
I have a bunch of that stuff now in like my case over there. They're like weird little, like we got these cool little accessory spinners. I don't even know what I guess they're spinners, but they were sold to like just accessorize your car. So they're like, they look like they're spinners, like these winged.
They almost look like knockoffs.
Yeah, they're like little, but they're small, little emblems. And Pete, our friend Pete, I think he had a set or something in his showcase. And years ago when I first met Pete, I was like, whoa, what is that? And he starts telling me a story. He found a couple sets of NOS ones. No idea who made them. They're not marked.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he just had them on their own. There wasn't a box of them or anything. And then we started finding them randomly.
We found a set of 4 at Joe Cook's in Jersey. And Pete sold them to Joe.
Yeah, they had Pete's writing on them. Like we bought them because Pete had a set. And I'm like, man, I'd love to find a set. So we bought them from that estate and then brought them home. And I showed them to Pete. He's like, that's my writing. I probably sold them to him at Carlisle. I used to see him all the time. So it's like we laugh all the time how this stuff all trades hands.
Full circle.
And then since then, I found an NOS set in the box. I found 2 or 3 different versions of the V8 logo that's in them, big and little. And it's like, I just started putting them aside because that's a neat little true period piece. And it's like you could put them on the bottom of a set of skirts for a decorative type thing. I've seen that on them. You could put them on hubcaps for, spinners.
Our friend Nick found another version that we've never seen before that just has a V on it at Carlisle or Hershey. I forget where. But he's like, check out these things, Matt. It's like, I've never seen them with just a V on them before.
Whoa, that's crazy. So it's like neat to find those. And you just save them. And when the right car pops up, you're like, oh, that would be neat. And you try it on the car, like, that's it. And that's that little detail that, like, you go to a show or an event or, but one of your buddies come over to look at your car and they're like, dude, where did you, like, I love getting all dorky about that with a friend's car. Like, dude, where did you get that? Whatever, or that. And they're like, oh, that was a little, accessory and I found it at the swap meet and it's just super cool. And you're like, wow, that's, like, that made your car unique. That's what was cool. So it's fun going through here, but like this is a good, like in the little book, top chopping the right way. And they show actually hammer welding the piece and leading. And it's using this is, again, when you'll see us we try and tell these backstories because this is why you see us selling some of this stuff. The people are like, why are they selling body hammers and Vixen files? It's like, well, this is the stuff that, like, yes, Eastwood makes these tools. Yes, other Harbor Freight makes them. Nothing beats a vintage Plum, Snap-on, any of those hammers. Nothing beats those hammers. Like, they're just well-balanced. They're well-made. The Vixen files, the file gets worn out, but they had different shape handles for the files and slappers. And it's like, you look in these books, and it's the same thing as the car stuff. I look at them like, whoa, what is that? Look at that crazy hammer with the bent head on.
Oh, yeah, that's wild. It's got like a 45 on the end of it.
Yeah, so it's like, but there's a reason that because you're working on these cars that are old, and we're doing stuff the old way, it makes sense to have some of these old tools. They don't make sense to use on a modern car, but then there's a reason. I've gotten some of these tools where it's like a slapper or a weird shaped dolly, and you're like, I don't know why you'd use this. And then I get an application, I'm like, it fits inside the fender lip on a 30s car. Perfect. And when you need to straighten the fender lip, this is the tool. And that's what they probably marketed it as when the tool guy came around. And you see that tool in here, like, ooh, I need to find one of them. So, like, I remember seeing in these, they have these weird, like, almost half moon shaped Vixen files. And I saw in, like, one of the leading articles, they were using it for, like, the reverse curve on 40s and 50s cars where they would lead in and smooth it all out. Well, you can get in that reverse curve to file it, and there's no other good way to get in to file that. And you have a file that's that shape. Well, they don't make, like, Eastwood sells Vixen files.
But they're all flat, right?
They're the standard ones that are just a straight one these sand in a line. They're like 12 inches long. They have like a half round file and a flat file. Great. That works for 80% of the time. But when you're getting in these little areas, there's no way to get in and file that with those easily. So you have these little files. So I've been collecting
Different
little
size,
files.
yeah.
We found in Oklahoma, actually, I bought some old body hammers from the estate in addition to what we did. Actually, I think Dale found it and showed it to you. It's a little Vixen file.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a little rectangular Vixen file that's maybe 4 inches long. It's got a little baby. I guess you cut the flat Vixen files. But if you need to get in an area and just file a little spot, like on the Merc, I needed that, like to file a weld or file a little spot, and you don't want to gouge out the whole panel. And again, you can make it, but it's super cool. It's this little piece of oak, like Vixen file, and that was one of the few things I kept from Oklahoma. And I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Need this. Put it in my box. I think there was one body hammer after we went through all the body hammers. I'm like, oh, I don't have this version, and but it's much like the Hot Rod magazines, the old books, all this stuff. We're grabbing these when we do estates because it's the stuff that you need to build these cars. If you want to build a car the old way, and you value old things, old body hammers are probably cheaper than buying a brand new set of hammers. Now, yes, you can buy a low-end Eastwood, low-end Harbor Freight hammer set for $50,
Yep.
and they're made out of bubble gum or tin foil, and they're
They
going to
usually have plastic hammers, handles.
and they're going to be probably not fully hardened. And when you hammer on them, your steel that you're hammering on is harder than a hammerhead.
Dent the hammerhead.
Yeah, so buying the vintage hammers in the long run, it's like you're probably buying something that's better. You can polish them and they work great. But like I like looking at these because it gives you little tips on how they actually chop them. A lot of the stuff for today's standards is crude.
Yes.
When you see these top chopping articles, a lot of the work they're hacksawing, they're torch cutting, and then they're torch welding it back together. So the work is more crude to today's standards, but I find it interesting how they're cutting them is really what the key is. If you want to build a nostalgic car, the way these guys are chopping it, looking at how they're doing it is a good way to, get your car to have that look is by cutting it similar to how they do it. You will see some crude work in here, though. It's like,
especially when we get to the custom side of it.
The custom stuff later on is like, but the other thing is you're going to see it shows you what the work was really like. So when you really look at a Barris how-to article or some of these other how-to articles and you see the quality of work and then you realize that is a pretty well-known car that they're working on or became a show car.
Yes.
For me, it's helped me be less critical of my own work because I go, you know what? The work I'm doing is actually probably better than 90% of the car builders, back then, or the higher end show cars that were built. My work on the metal level was probably equal or better than the best guys. And that's not me just beating on my chest. It's just as a hobby, we've gotten better because these tools are more available. They're cheaper to do better work. TIG welding makes it easier, on and on and on. So,
yeah, the magazines definitely bring you back to reality because you go on the internet and you see all these high-end shops that are doing like perfect metal shaping. And you're like, God damn it, my shit sucks. And then you look at these and you're like, okay, it's really not that bad.
Yeah, that helped me really start getting myself under control with just hating everything I do because it's like, you know what, this is pretty good for what I want the car to be. If I'm trying to create, like that's what the Merc is. It's like, for what I'm trying to do is make it look like it was a car that was chopped in the 50s or the late 40s or into the early 50s. And if you don't know me and you looked at that car, you would think that thing was done back in the day just by the way it was done, the finish, the work. And it's like, it's going to have its imperfections. I'm fine with that because I'm not trying to win.
It's actually better than the 50s. The 50s, they would just overlap the panels and blended them together.
Actually, yes. It is better. Again, on the metal level, it's better. Maybe my paint isn't as good, but my paint's equally as good as some hometown guy would have done in his driveway, just like I kind of did, and buffed it out. And, that's very true to how they were doing it. So looking at these articles, you can come down to okay, if I'm not trying to build an award-winning car, it's okay to have it that stage. But here's was this a 33 Or no, that's not even a Ford. That's a Chevy pickup with a 32 car grill on it.
And it has wood bedsides.
It has a homemade bed. So like that's just wild.
What
And
year
it's
is
got a
that?
stove bolt. That's like a 30.
No. What year's the magazine?
54.
That's wild. That's very kooky for like a 54.
You would see, but that's where these little books.
Yeah.
You get these little. Again, this is like the hometown hero. I would call. I just nicknamed that. This is like the. This is the guy that in his area he had the nicest little pickup running around his little town, and
I feel like those little books run the gamut too.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get like a cool article on a hot rod. There's a cool one of a custom, and you have these very different, a wide range of things inside the magazine.
But these are good for, like we talked about in one of our podcasts, like affordable cars to build a hot rod or custom out of. Like if you start geeking out on some of these off-brand little books, you're gonna see these like I never saw somebody do. I don't know what year it is. A 30 Chevy pickup cab built into a early style. It's a 32 Chevy sedan, and he converted it into a pickup.
That's wild.
So it's like
that's wild. You see people do that nowadays.
like
it's
the rat rod thing, but now
it's wild they were doing that in 54.
it's very
And it was probably built 52, 53.
yeah. But the way it was done, it's like pretty cool because it's got like the trends of the time. So it's got the like lunchbox or toolbox latches for the full hood, and it's all louvered up. It's got a 32 car grill, but it's still got the Chevy
double headlight
bar on it.
Does it have guides on it?
Yeah, I think it's got the ones without the lights on the top. So it's like the 682s, not the C's or whatever. But it's got the stove bolt in it that's all hopped up, and it's got the Chevy. I believe it's still got the Chevy wheels, homemade bed, the 32 Chevy dash, which is a very cool dash. So it's like these cars had cool stuff from the factory. It's just they maybe did just become as popular. But this is a cool one because you're like, what do I want to do with my orphan type car that I want to build for like no money? There's a good example. You could take a jump off point and build a car. What I like is this star is still styled in a way that's really like subtle. It's not like ugh. I mean you look at the plywood bed and sure it's not like maybe to my taste, but like overall the truck's not terrible.
And very different from what the pulse of the hot rod community was in 50, from what I can understand from magazines.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone will flame me in the comments for saying that.
Yeah, that's not how it was.
You weren't there. I know I wasn't. I'm just speaking from what I can see in magazines.
Yeah. But so a lot of these little books are good for that. So I think Rod and Custom, as far as quality goes, is probably a really good one that's going to have a difference. Rodding and Restyling, I don't know if I grabbed one. Rodding and Restyling is probably, that might be my favorite magazine from all these different books and magazines. Rodding and Restyling has a lot of East Coast and Midwest stuff in it. So if you're into looking at what was cool then, now it has West Coast stuff too, but like there's a lot of...
I feel like that has a lot more regional small car show stuff in it from all over.
Yeah, like this is Hartford, Connecticut, 1959 indoor show. And it's like, man, if you want to see, like if you're from the New England... Now, luckily, New England is very well documented. Everybody in New England is nuts, in the hot rod community, is nuts for the historical side of it. So like I feel like it's very well documented as far as photos and books. There's even cool cars and
I grabbed that one.
Yeah, that's one. Cool car. I always fuck it up. Cool Cars Square Roll Bars. Kind of an expensive book because it's out of print.
I think they only did 2,000 copies, and it's like a $200 to $300 book if you can find it.
Yeah, they're pretty hard. There's one with I think, is there a different dust color? Again, getting nerdy. But that's a good one where it's like, if you want to see like East Coast hot rodding or New England hot rodding specifically, that's the book, and it's become a collector's item. But like that's a good example of like, you can get the magazines cheap. You can buy a magazine for $3 to $7 at any swap meet. You can find little books, and you can buy them and page through them. When you start getting into looking for more like better quality or higher quality photos, those books are really good. But Hartford 59, and it's just got all these indoor cars, and you could see like best radical rod truck, and it's got pickup truck with Hillborn injection Vertex mag, Hemi powered, of course. A 6-card manifold. Oh, look at this. This is in Hartford, Souderton, Pennsylvania.
Really?
So this truck won. Fred Klee, Souderton, PA, a deserving winner. He won Best Radical Truck at this Hartford show. So that I enjoy looking at, again, back to what I was saying. I like looking at these because you see like literally like local cars. Like I look in here and I'm like, there's like one town, like Souderton's what, 45 minutes away?
Yeah, super here? Small towns too.
So it's like neat seeing these little things. And then sometimes I go down the rabbit hole. I'll write down like that person's name or make a note in my phone. And then when I'm at a car show and I see a friend that lives in that area, I'll be like, hey, ask your dad, did he ever know a Fred Klee? Or like if it's an older person that, might have been around then. Like, hey, do you remember a Fred Klee from Souderton that built
You should be ask. He's got his grandfather's
Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andy's got it, and he's from that area.
Yeah, so Lansdale, Souderton area.
Yeah, so he's super into the history of it all. So he may know himself, but like he may be able to ask around and know. But it's like just cool to learn about it. It's like the truck's probably long gone. But
yeah.
It's pretty cool to be like, oh yeah, that guy was really cool. He had the little repair shop on High Street.
Yeah.
And that little building that's now a convenience store? That used to be the spot. We'd all hang out there and Fred
that truck sat in that garage for decades.
Yeah, so it's like just to hear the stories is cool.
Yeah.
I like doing that. But looking through these, you can see, a lot of these cars, and you're going to start seeing some of the kooky stuff that,
especially rod and restyling, because that continued into like the mid to late 60s. 64, I think I see there.
64 is, I think, the end of that one.
Yeah.
So that one's pretty cool. You get into some of the crazy show rod and custom stuff in there. But again, this magazine kind of runs a nice gamut of it. Shows a little bit of racing, a bunch of street cars, hot rods and customs, and then a little bit of the how-to. So like, for instance, I just flipped, oddly enough, and there's a how-to on doing
LaSalle conversions.
How to do a short-shafted LaSalle, putting the torque tube set up on the back of a LaSalle. So it's like how to change the gears, what's different, how to actually get the shaft shortened, all that.
Some of that information is literally can only be found in these books.
Yeah, so it's neat to see that because I've used this for now knowing what parts to look for.
Yep.
That saved me a ton of money. And people are like, how did you get so many of X, Y, and Z? I'm like, what, the LaSalle transmissions, for instance. They are expensive when they're sold by someone like us out on the retail market. But like, for instance, a local cruising guy that I see around.
Aren't you buying that this week?
Yeah, I got to text him. I forgot about it. But,
I literally just remembered that too.
Yeah, so like, for instance, this guy younger than us that's in the antique cars, he's in the local antique car community. We were sitting at like one of the last like car events of the season in our area at a little bar restaurant having dinner, and he starts asking me questions about if we have an adapter for like a Cadillac transmission to put behind a Buick Straight 8 or something. Like, what are you doing? I'm like,
let's take a couple steps back here.
And he's like, I went to this guy's place to buy something, and he had this neat Buick, I think it was Buick Straight 8 stuff. I might be wrong. But it was like an orphan type car, or not a hot rod. He's more into this stock stuff. And he's like, the guy had this trans sitting here for some weird reason, and he said it was a really strong one. And I always thought it'd be neat to build a Buick Straight 8 powered nostalgia, drag car or something, like just whatever he's just thinking about doing. I'm like, well, what's the trans? He starts to describe. He's like, the shifter's offset. He said it was out of a Cadillac. I'm like, 37 Cadillac LaSalle transmission. He's like, what? How did you know that? I'm like, do you have a picture? No, I don't have a photo. He's like, I bought it for like $50 or something really cheap from the guy because he's like, whatever. So he starts describing it to me, and I'm like, what's the tail shift like? How long is it? And he's like, no, it's got this like little aluminum tail shift on it. But he's like, it's like aluminum, and it's real short on the back. I'm like, well, I saw in one of the like old books, there was a company, it was eventually for a short period of time, they were selling a kit to convert a LaSalle to the like short shaft to put them in different cars. We had one time for a Chevy torque tube. I got it from
shit. Yeah, I can't remember. We've had it a couple times.
We had one when I bought all the stuff at the Arden estate. I got all this really weird old speed stuff, and I got this little adapter kit that turned out to be to put a LaSalle and hook it up to a Chevy torque tube setup, like for a 50s car.
We've had some for
a 40s car.
A Muncie too. Does the same thing.
So he had this little tail shift he's describing. I'm like, I think I remember in a little book they sold a kit that bolted up to like a torque tube or whatever, and they would sell the stuff to do it, because he was like describing it like didn't sound like a Ford piece. And he's like, well, I bought it. Do you guys have an adapter? I'm like, did you research the LaSalles? He's like, not really. I just thought it would be neat. And the guy said that was the strong one. I'm like, they're like the coveted transmission for nostalgic hot rods and old nostalgic drag cars and stuff. I love them. I have a ton of them. They're very expensive. They can be expensive. You scored it for cheap. But I said all the pieces to make that work behind your Buick Straight 8 either don't exist or are very expensive. I'm like, he's like, well, I thought, or it would be neat to put like a flathead V8 thing, or maybe I just gave him an example. I don't remember. But I'm like, for instance, a flathead V8 to LaSalle trans adapter is what, like $700 or something.
They're so hard to find.
Nobody makes them. I'm like, so that Buick one you're looking for is also probably very hard to find. And if I got one, it's going to be $800. And he's like, well, holy crap, I wanted to build something cheap. I'm like, LaSalle Trans is not that for you. Unless that dude, you go back to his garage and he has the adapter kit for the same price.
Yeah.
You're kind of.
They probably don't. No one was putting Buick Straight 8s in anything.
They made an adapter for like everything for LaSalle.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but it's so obscure.
Yeah.
So I was like, not trying to be that guy, but if you decide it's too expensive, I have a ton of them. I have pallet loads of LaSalles. It's like a small micro obsession of mine.
One of.
Yeah, one of many. And he's like, well, what'd you give me for it? And I said, well, we asked $1,200 to $1,500 for a LaSalle Trans, and if I was trying to sell one retail, I can't pay that. And I said, I would probably give you like $500 for it, sight unseen. I said, even if I open it up and it's broken, to me, the case, that cool adapter piece on the back, the shifter, he had the shifter on it. I'm like, it's worth $500 to me. And I said, shit, that'd be cool. I paid $50 or $100.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's awesome. I'm getting a good deal. I'll put it on the shelf. So one of these days this week, he's supposed to bring it over, and that's cool. But I learned all that geeky information.
Yes.
Eventually, my long stories come back in circle to these little books, reading these how-tos, because you learn what are the pieces that you need. So, like, you take a 50 Olds Trans and you take all the parts out of it, and you can put the main shaft and all the gears and stuff into a LaSalle, and you get a shorter tail shaft, open drive, and it's a good way to do it. It also helps you educate. You probably find more LaSalle transmissions that have been modified than not.
Yes.
Like, we see them all the time, and it's either has the Olds tail shaft converted to torque tube, and if the Ford transmount or bearing retainer isn't bolted to it, it looks really weird. Like, the LaSalle looks weird because the little bit of spline stuff that's sticking out is like this long, and then it has a really coarse spline count because that's what the Ford flathead U-joints have.
Yep.
So it's like all these little things reading these books. That's where that stuff becomes really valuable, where you can buy it from us for $1,500, but we always tell people, if you hunt hard enough, you'll probably find the stuff at your own local flea market or another old hot rodder that has it, and you can buy it for substantially cheaper. And I'm happy for you, because it's really great.
He really doesn't want to sell it, is what he's trying to say.
Yeah, I don't really want to sell LaSalle stuff. I don't want to. But so that's that.
Then the ones we've looked through already.
So those two.
And the hot rod.
And the hot rod. I'll give you this one too, because you can talk about that then. So that one's a good.
Yeah. So we talked about Carcraft. Carcraft actually started as Honk for the first, I think, year or so.
I think it might even be half a year Honk started. I don't remember.
53, and then I think they changed in 54. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like half a year they did Honk.
Trying to look at the shelf over there.
It says 54 Carcraft, so it was either mid 53 or
yeah. So if you find any that are Honk, this is actually the beginning of Carcraft, and they changed, and they stayed little books until it looks like 60.
Yeah, it looks 60. Like 60. Yeah, I think it's 60. They changed. So
bunch of same as rodding and restyling, rod and custom, same kind of overall information. Carcraft then later on changed to more of a magazine like Hot Rod, a little bit of everything, mostly new car stuff. But early Honk, Carcraft are amazing. They're really good articles.
And it's the same thing. They're showing more Like Honk, I feel like was showing more of like streetcar, kind of like, you look at what's it, a T Touring or something on the front.
Yep.
So it's like you're seeing again, Hot Rod wasn't showing in that era. You wouldn't see a T Touring on the front of Hot Rod magazine. You're probably going to see a Dry Lakes.
But it also says a first in a series of how to build a dragster. So it's showing like a T Touring car and talking about building a dragster. So it's
a little bit of everything on it. Yeah. They weren't stupid.
There's some SCTA racing, and then the next page is dirt racing with some Roaring Roadsters.
That's cool. That's neat to see that.
Yeah. So these little books, I honestly prefer the little books to Hot Rod.
Yeah.
Always, because this thing's pretty cool. 28, 29, or 26, 27 T.
Yeah, a little roadster pickup with a homemade bed. Yeah. Super cool. Is it on Deuce rails or is it on homemade like Model A rails?
It looks like it's on Model A rails.
It just sits. It's low slung. It's
very low. It's probably got a step in it.
Yeah. So that like you see a lot of these like unusual little rods in there that are, a lot of home built kind of stuff.
Crosley hot rod, little tiny Crosley truck.
It is?
It's a Crosley powered.
T-Cal? It looks like 26.7 T-Cal or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's wild looking.
You're going to see some stuff in there that's like totally left field where maybe, me personally, I'm not going to build a...
Look how little that thing is. Look at the dude sitting in it.
Yeah, that is crazy.
It looks huge.
You see some like crazy...
one-off.
Weird stuff that you probably aren't going to build, but you could still take little things from those, the way they did the interior, maybe a suspension idea.
I don't know if you've ever seen this one. I think it's a Philadelphia car.
Is it?
It's this Philadelphia showpiece.
That looks like the
Philadelphia jewel box.
No, really, that looks like the the Mac T.
Nope.
Oh, they copied like the rear. Wow. Yeah, I don't know if I ever noticed that car. The rear bumper looks like is it Fred Mac?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I apologize. I fuck up the names sometimes, but Mac, the Detroit T, that's like all as built.
Yep. This is Jim Wenstrup's 26T with a Merc engine.
But that rear bumper is very similar, I think, to that. But that was a really famous car that made a splash, and but those were the cars that like when I was building my T, I was kind of looking at those type of cars and how were they building them and trying to replicate some of that stuff. So that's
Firewall was handmade from sheetrock and
sheetrock.
Yeah, it's the bottom right photo there.
Sheet stock.
Oh, sheet stock.
Jesus Christ.
I need glasses. You're right.
Sheet stock. That's a common term. Yeah. They just mean flat steel, and they formed it.
Do you see the dash?
All loaded with gauges.
It's chrome, and it's like a full row of gauges all the way across. I think that's a Merc accessory wheel too, isn't it?
I don't think so. No, it almost looks like a pickup wheel.
Super neat car. I don't know if we've ever seen that before.
Yeah, that's a cool. Like I love on these, and I've been wanting to do this on a car and I haven't done it yet. They hard plumb like
the wires
like the wiring in like brake tubing or copper tubing, and then they would have it chromed.
Remember we had a whole bunch of that stainless stuff?
I still have it.
Oh, you do? I thought we scrapped it.
Yeah, it's I think it's either upstairs. I think it's upstairs.
I thought we scrapped it.
No, I think I saved some of it. I think I scrapped some of the weird sizes I would never use.
Okay.
But I think I still have some, I think. But like you see that kind of stuff and you're like, man, I want to do that. That would be really cool. So those are the little details. It's like I've been waiting to do that on a car. I just haven't done it yet. But like
super neat car.
If I go back and fix or redo a bunch of stuff on the T, that might be the kind of stuff I would do to like dress the T up, like do the plug wires or something, any wiring in that or whatever. It'd be kind of neat. But so those, the Honk, the Carcraft ones, they were really neat in the Little Book era. It's kind of interesting because if you just think of Carcraft now and you didn't know the history behind it, you think of Carcraft now being mostly performance oriented
or new car reviews a lot.
Yeah, so like I feel like that one, engine building, shootouts and stuff like that, where the older ones, they were more like what you would think of for a Rod and Custom type of magazine, and I think they blurred the lines, all those titles. it was a lot of the same. You feel like Carcraft and Rod and Custom and some of their subsidiaries, they were getting the hand-me-downs from Hot Rod. The guy submitted his car to get featured on Hot Rod. They didn't. They said no, or they didn't. Whatever reason. And they're like, let me give it to the Rod and Custom guys.
Yep.
Shoot it for that, or the Carcraft guys, or whatever. So
Matt pulled these out. We'll just touch on them real quick. These are good photo collection books. No how-to. This is just a guy's photo collection. Jimmy
Barter.
So
Jimmy, if you follow like the Ham or social media, Jimmy from Australia. I believe you're from Australia. I apologize if you're from
yes.
Australia. Okay. I was hoping he wasn't a Kiwi, and he's like, "Fuck you," because that's like that.
Yeah, it says right on the back.
I'm not from Pittsburgh. I'm from Philly area, motherfucker. So there's a little bit of.
So we have 1, 2, and 3 here. I don't know if there's any more.
I think I have another one in there I didn't pull out. Jimmy, his
I see that now.
From looking from afar, Jimmy's micro obsession is history and old photos and the lineage of hot rodding and cars. So he's the guy, even though he lives in Australia, that like he's been buying. There's been a bunch of guys I've seen on the Ham stuff over the years that were buying historic photos on eBay, and I feel like he's one of the guys that's probably been the best at it, where he's like searching eBay, and when a historic photo pops up, a real one, where somebody just posts on eBay old racing photos, like a state clean out or whatever. He's finding all these Dry Lakes photos, old hot rod photos, and
Pearson Brothers Coupe.
Yes, he owns a huge collection of these original photos, and he was gathering them for his own personal collection. And I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, maybe it's been longer, he started doing some self-published like little books with photos. And he's been doing these small runs of these books. So I don't know if even all those are even available anymore.
I don't know. This is the first time I've actually ever looked at them.
They're super cool. As soon as he put any of those out, I was like on them, and I hope I didn't miss any. But he was putting them out, and you could either get them from him and they were signed, or you could get like right from his site. So because I didn't want to miss them, I was buying them right from the site and getting those books. Whoever's publishing it, you could get them shipped. And man, they're awesome. They're all these, a lot of these photos have never been seen before because he bought them and he's had them in his collection, or there's stuff that maybe he posted on a Ham thread or something, or a social media post, and now you have it in the book. And it's neat to go through those because there's also different angles of famous cars that maybe you never saw before. So there's like, he's got these like, the alternative angle. Like maybe you're looking at a famous photo of the Pearson Brothers Coupe, and it's like there's a guy in the background that's holding a camera taking a photo at the same time, and somehow he found that photo, and you're like, whoa, that's the same car, but from the driver's side instead of the passenger side.
And I like how he has it broken up. He has it into chunks of like all the Bonneville photos are together, all the drag racing photos are together, and then the lifestyle, normal street car photos. So you can like digest all of it. Like these are all the Dry Lakes. He's been a good boy.
He was asleep in his nose. He's like, wait, is this real life? There's a bone there?
Am I dreaming? Really cool photo books. They're neat because they're, Hop Up still prints in little books, right?
Yes. I think they're now on to doing an annual. He doesn't feel like stretching for that bone. He's
so lazy. It's like, I'll get it.
I'll get it then. Yeah,
but these are neat. Like if you collect little books, these modern ones kind of fit in with the rest of them. They don't, more modern magazines are usually full size, so they kind of don't fit in with the vintage books. So these are great. I'm actually going to snag some photos to put in the video, and I might give these back in a month or so.
Yeah, those books were really good, and I've only paged through them, maybe twice since I got them.
Yeah,
but they're good. They're good references to have.
There's a fourth one over there.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's done more, but I think he has a lot more photos in his archives, and he's just been doing them. And the hard part with a lot of that stuff is it's very expensive to publish a full-on book.
Yeah.
So he's self-publishing, but even that, it's like he's doing small runs because it's much like what we deal with doing our calendars. It's like it doesn't make sense. He's doing it for the passion. He's probably not making hardly any money, so he's not going to make 3,000 copies and offer them for forever. Yeah. So I know that he's been doing, versions, and even the last one or two, he kind of mentioned his social media, like, I don't even know if it's worth it to me to do it, because if he's, the interest starts to go down as every one you do, where there's only a handful of us that are like, I'm buying every one because I want to see all the photos he has and have in my archive. So it's good to do that. You can follow Jimmy on Instagram. He posts a lot of cool historical photos on his Instagram account. We'll drop something down below, but he's
right here.
Yeah, so he follows our stuff. I know we communicate through social media back and forth, and he's even a handful of times watched some of our stuff, and then he'll DM me directly and be like, here's a photo of my collection. You were asking for inspiration for X, Y, and Z. Here's a cool car. He's like a wealth of knowledge. He's like, here's a car of XYZ car from 54,
cool.
and blah, 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 blah. And it's like kind of what I'm asking. I'm like, dude, whoa. Because I think when I was talking about doing a T on 32 rails, he might have sent me something. It was like 2 or 3 photos. I'm like, I never saw those cars before, or that's an angle I didn't see. And it's like, so it's cool to buy those, support people that are doing, these small self-published type deals is, very important. He spent a lot of money over the years buying all these photos and collecting them. It's like the least we can do is buy his book instead of just screenshotting his photos and then reposting them on every fucking Facebook group on the planet and not giving him credit.
Yes.
Which is very bad. So
that happens on the ham a lot too.
Yeah, and it's like I try and do it when I can, but I'm also been guilty of it. It's been reposted so many times you don't know where that photo came from originally. But I'll literally see stuff where like he posted a photo on his social media, and 3 hours later some dumbass is reposting on every Facebook group, or these like photo sharing Facebook pages that they're just trying to like, I don't know what they're trying to do, but they just like steal everybody's photos and post them up there. And
our photos get taken a lot.
And it's like, but I do the same thing. I'm like, that was from Jimmy's account. Like, what the hell? So, the last thing we were talking about is when you start getting really into left field, especially with the customs, you get some of these like, there's really nerdy magazines that if you really want to get into like the weeds here, like Custom Illustrated, Custom Craft, Custom Rodder, Custom Cars.
Car Speed and Style.
And Speed and Custom was another one. There was all these Rod Builder and Customizer. And then, of course, like Motor Trend and Speed Mechanics are bigger ones. They sometimes didn't always have a lot of hot rod content, but I have a little bit of them because there was some famous cars that were featured in them, and I'll collect them. But like Motor Trend, you're not going to find some of the Motor Trends did have some hot rod content, but they're not going to be. They're going to be more like whatever car is new that year they're doing stuff on. But some of these little books, like the Customs Illustrated, you're going to see there's like these.
That's where you get into the really kooky
wild
how-to lead stuff. And it's like you're taking electrical conduit to make the shape, and then you lead it into the fender or a headlight. Or there's some lot of like. You want to see some wild customization stuff they were doing back in the day? Those give you a very good indication of the crazy shit they were doing.
Yeah, and you're going to see some stuff that, like, I feel like not many of us are daring enough to do this anymore. I know I'm not. But you're seeing these guys where they were building cars that were to win shows and be standouts, and unique. So you're going to see some stuff, but I still think it's neat. Even like I'm not going to build a car that's like El Matador, or, any of these like really crazy 40s that were built and different stuff, and I'm probably never going to build a car like that because it doesn't excite me. But you can take little details when you're doing one, and like how they took. This one looks like it's almost using like early Corvette rear bumpers that they put on for Nerf bars, and maybe they're not. They might even be something they handmade. Tubular grills,
taillights, steering wheels, sometimes gauges. A lot of times they were just taking a 50s dash and molding it to whatever, but
padding it.
Yeah.
Putting fur. They did the fur thing was really big, the like fake angel hair and fur
or button tuck interior with like
out of control buttons.
Way too many buttons.
So you see a lot of that, but like I think if you're building a car, especially if you're building, like, these are good for, if you're building what I would call mild custom, say you're buying a 50s or early 60s car and you want to customize it. There's a lot of, like, I'm just looking at this, like here, putting the little drawer knob pulls in the grill.
And that's a normal amount of drawer knob pulls.
So doing something like that in your, like, mild custom is very on brand.
I feel like the other thing with those is paint jobs too. There are a lot of like Watson style.
Yeah, very crazy.
There's like, you look through and there's very basic Watson style, and then some of the cover cars, the paint's like insane, late 50s, early 60s, and they're doing these crazy lines and multiple colors and really cool inspiration for what if you're building a crazy custom.
So look at this one. They have a how-to article on how to put these like little dress-up discs on
your
white walls, and then the hubcap's got like a little spinner that they bolted on, and it's like this is just the stuff that they were doing to dress these cars up because they were so customized to the max. But if you're just doing a little mild custom, you want to do some fun dress-up stuff on your car, it's very, that's what they were doing. Or you can go as crazy as like this, and you have a TV in the trunk and a telephone and button tufted and pleated everything, and you can just go totally wild and overboard. But it's kind of neat to see some of that stuff because there was no social media to be like, that's not cool.
Yeah, and there was no limit. They were just, everyone was trying to one up each other, and just crazier and crazier.
Recessed.
Ooh, I love that.
Frenched antennas that are laid down on the top
of the headlights,
leading edge of the fender over the headlight, like they like tunneled it in.
That'd be kind of cool if above taillights, like in a fin of something.
Oh yeah, that's.
I'm sure
cool.
if we page through a couple more,
somebody did it. Yeah, but I never thought of that. Like turning the putting the antenna so it's horizontal across the fender is super cool. And it's just like, that's the wild little detail. Like, I might take that little detail and do it on a custom. But
somewhere
I'm not going
else.
I'm not going to do exactly like they did, but like taking that little idea. That's why you, like on the Sweetheart Roadster, which seems like it'll never get a finish, but I've been doing those details. So I did the little detail and the double antenna in the quarter panel because I saw some cars that did versions of that. And I'm like, I'm going to do my own little version of that. The antennas are off, you keep one half up and one almost down, and it's just like a neat little...
And I feel like that era of customs, they were taking a lot of the stuff they were doing on the new cars, and they were building the, what are they called? It wasn't the actual car, it's the... I'm having a brain fart.
Concept car?
Concept car, yeah. Because that was that era of, they were doing like these off-the-wall concept cars.
Yep.
And I feel like the custom guys would go to the World's Fair or the car show and be like, that's cool, I'm going to use that on my custom. And they were doing that.
And there's a lot of discussion that these concept cars, they were just looking at what the hot rod and custom guys were doing.
It's like a full circle. They were...
that the designers were looking at what the custom guys were doing in the trends, and they were taking that, and then they're like, let's start putting bigger fins on. Because these, that the kids seem to like that. So there's a lot of discussion of that.
It's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah,
who was copying who? And it was actually a circle. They were just copying everyone.
I don't disagree that car designers probably were copying what the young people were doing and the trends, because I think car designers have been doing that forever. The color palette that they pick is probably on brand with what's in fashion, what is popular.
Bland is the color trend in fashion right now.
Yes,
gray and white.
Seeing gray and white and like bluish grays instead of just gray.
Yeah.
And, tans, like very...
I feel like we're back in the 30s, earth tone only.
Earth tone colors, yeah. So, but these books are really good if you get into these. There's an endless supply of all these little off-brand, so to speak, little books. You can even get as, again, regional. So there's like one that we found recently that's not recently, but a little while ago in the state, Cars and Clubs. And it's apparently a Midwest-only magazine that was only made from like 58 or 59. It's a little book. It's pretty thin, but it's all like Midwestern cars only. And I got like 2 or 3 of them out of state. And then somebody messaged me on Instagram and I posted it, like, they made them. They're only Midwest. They're super rare. And then we found another estate. I found like a stack of them, and I have the majority of them now.
Yeah.
But they're really neat to go through because you want to talk about cars that are not famous, never again photographed or featured. Yep. That is like the thing, and you'll find a lot of those cars. And there's some good books that are like self-published type books. Like I have like Hot Rod Detroit is one that I have that's just like basically about the history of hot rodding in Detroit, and it goes all the way up into I think the 70s or 80s, which is really neat. But it has some early days, some famous cars that there's neat photos of. I have one on Washington State.
Oh, yeah.
I think that somebody sent us.
Spokane hot rodding.
Yeah, and I think I have one on Canada as well that somebody self-published as well. That's really, really cool. So it's neat that people went through those.
We can give Spike a shout out for his.
I was just going to say.
I can pull that one.
So our buddy Spike, who's a talented photographer. Photographer.
I was waiting for you to start.
Photographer. We actually did a podcast with him
Yes.
because he's super nerdy about vintage cameras and photography stuff. But he did, with another gentleman, he did the East versus West showdown. So they went and found a bunch of historic cars and did photo shoots on them doing the East versus the West. And it's kind of funny because they basically figured out that everything that's not California, not West Coast, is considered East Coast.
Spike has a photo on his Instagram that's like East Coast, and it's the entire United States, and then it's West Coast, it's just California.
And like Washington State or something like that. But like
they do hot rods and customs, so there's like a bunch of like cool articles. This book's a little bit hard to find because it was self-published a couple years ago. I'm trying to remember.
Or I think it was not self-published. It was just it was published, but not like huge numbers.
Yes.
It is still around, but it's getting harder to find.
2012, yeah.
It's probably getting a little more expensive.
They get like $100 for a book.
Yeah, so they're getting.
They do pop up, but this is a neat book. I have a copy too. I love looking through it.
Yeah, it's a really good one to have. There's the Lost Hot Rodding. That's another good one that they went and found a bunch of historic cars and photographed them. So you could go through these books forever and ever. And then the ultimate, that Don Montgomery books, we talked about it. Those are the best Dry Lakes era series of books. But he even got into, I think I have a Gasser one he did.
Yep.
But Don Montgomery books are the pinnacle, I think, for good photos and information from these era.
There's a lot of different versions. You only have 3 or 4 of them, I think, but there's
like 15 or something. But I have a bunch of them, like that Hot Rod Memories.
This is like the most popular one, I think, right?
Is it? I thought no. I think some of the other ones. I don't think that one's as popular. Hot Rod Memories. I don't know, but you'll see they can bring some money.
Yes.
When some of the lesser common ones, and it's probably the same thing when you were talking about Jimmy. Like the first couple he put out, a lot of people bought them, and then he kept putting them out, and less people bought them. They're less common, and now you're seeing they're like hundreds of dollars. People are
same with the Cool Cars roll bars. I think it was only like $30 brand new. They sold them all, and now they're like highly coveted.
Yeah. So the coffee table book, I'm actually really stoked to get this book. I bought this at an auction a few years ago. There was on a Black Friday, I think it was. I went to an auction that was at an auction hall, and there was all kinds of hot rod stuff and old car stuff. It was another one of these auctions that was like multiple auctioneers.
No, it was in his house. Because weren't you doing shelves in his garage of books?
No, it was at an auction hall.
Oh, okay.
It was at an auction hall, and they had a shelf with books, and they had like 2 or 3 auctioneers. And I was running around, just me, stupidly didn't bring anybody, trying to buy stuff.
This is the one that had like 300 sets of small block
Chevy fin valve covers. Yeah. Yes, it was at an auction hall on Black Friday. And I was running by the auctioneer that was doing all the magazines and books, and I just decided I have a lot of magazines, I'm not going to buy them. I'm running by, and they're doing stacks of books like this tall, and they were struggling to get $1, $2. So I ran by, and I was like, there was a good stack, and I think I saw like one of the custom cars of the 50s books or something in there, and I quick ran by and stopped for like 30 seconds. I bought like 3 stacks of books for like $1 or $2 a piece. Got them home. We were going through them, and there was this. I believe Rodder's Journal did it. Yes, they did. Rodder's Journal did a coffee table book on when they did the anniversary at the Grand National Roadster Show for the 32 Ford, and they had some of the most famous 32 Ford hot rods of all time in the hall as a feature.
Yeah,
and and there's the layout. Yeah.
The very first inside the cover is the hand drawn sketch of the layout where all the cars were going to be.
So they did a book photographing all of the cars
that
were basically in it.
I don't know
and it's like the most important most important 32s of hot rodding, essentially. So, like, that book's really cool because it's kind of expensive, super high quality. The photos, like anything Rodder's Journal, is through the roof for quality.
Yes.
But what's really neat, it's just cool to page through and see these high quality photos of some of the, my favorite 32s of all time. And it does get into some cars that are beyond my interest. You get into the street rod era. There's like the 70s, 80s, 90s even.
The Milner Coupe.
Yeah, Milner Coupe, of course, is in there. But there's a lot of really famous cars in there. And it's just so neat to see them and pour over the details because the quality's so high.
Yes.
In the book on there. So that's a great one if you want coffee table book. One like that's really good. And that's where, again, we get into the stuff where you're starting to get into books that are $100 and up when you start collecting. But I've just been, lucky enough that over the years, as I'm always hunting, it's like that I bought all those stacks of books not knowing what was in them. And I'm like, we'll buy them. And, $1, we'll make $100 selling all the different books in there, $10 a piece, $20 a piece. Get to the bottom of the pile and there's the freaking, Rodder's Journal coffee table book. And I'm like, ooh, that's worth what I paid.
Yeah, and we will give a shout out Rodder's Journal if you want like high quality modern magazine.
And Hop Up.
Yeah. The Rodder's Journals, their magazines are almost coffee table, like printed on very high quality paper, super high gloss.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the books. I'm gonna grab one. Are so we did. Well, Rod and Culture. That was one that Spike.
Oh yeah.
For I'm looking for. Oh no. Yeah, traditional Rod and Culture. I don't remember. But there's a bunch of these magazines that are. Those are the ones he shot for. But there's a bunch of magazines that are still printed that are really good.
Unfortunately, with
again, my names are the names of the different. A lot of them have gone to like quarterly or yearly.
I think Hop Up's now annual.
Annual. Jeez, I can't even. Yearly.
Well, they did do quarterly.
Yeah.
And now I think they're doing annual. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, some of those are doing that, but Rodder's Journal has been in and out.
Yeah.
With distribution over the years.
I mean, they're older stuff. If you go back,
they're still putting stuff out, but like, I feel like Rodder's Journal has been put out for long enough now. And now you're starting to see where we're going to estates, and there's like stacks of Rodder's Journals.
We were just at an estate last week. He had literally an entire collection, minus 3 issues.
I don't know if we asked him if he wanted to sell those.
We didn't ask.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Dang it.
He had 1 through like 70, I think, and he was missing like 13, 14, and 18.
I'm gonna hit him up, see if he wants to get rid of them. I should buy a collection from somebody. We always sell them.
Yeah, we did buy almost an entire collection minus 1 and 2, I think, and we sold them.
Dang it! I should probably keep the whole collection, but those are really good because there is a lot of cars that them doing historical articles, but then there's a lot of cars that they photographed like as found or during the restoration that are really famous. And they're good to look for, but again, for high quality. But they're now been out long enough, they've become collectible, and you're starting to see that some of those are quite valuable. And a lot of the modern, traditional hot rodding and custom resurgence, a lot of those famous cars that were built, in the early 2000s, let's say, some of those cars were featured in that magazine, and now they're legendary.
Yep.
And you can go back to the original article. So it's kind of the same equivalent. They're like modern day legendary cars that we're looking at the May of 50 hot rod cover car. Well, the Rodder's Journal 2012 cover car for May is also probably iconic now, that was built by somebody famous. So that's pretty much the pinnacle. If you had a car featured on the cover of that, it's either a real historic car or it's something that's.
Yeah, I like that they've done I can see the corner. They did the cookie tea when it was redone by 3 Dog. They did a whole article on that thing.
Yeah, that was. Well, I have 2 of those because Kate.
Oh yeah,
Kate was the
assistant on that, right?
Photographer's assistant on that when they shot it at.
Did she get a credit in the magazine? She
did. Somewhere in the magazine that they give a shout out there, like Kate from IronTrap or something. I forget where it is in the thing, for helping. But she went. And they sent us a couple copies of it, which was cool. It was during COVID.
Yeah.
So they couldn't find anybody to help because it was literally during COVID. And they hit me up. And sadly, I was traveling. I would have done it for free.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was when I was going to like Washington or Oregon,
Oh, I didn't realize that.
and I was like, man, I want to do it, but Kate was not working because of the shutdown, so she went over and they paid her a small amount of money just to help. But I was like, you really need to do this. It's super
Please.
cool. And so she was joking with me for the longest time that she saw the Cookie Tea in person when it was restored before I did. I didn't get to see it until Grand National.
Yeah.
Was when I actually got to see it in person. So it was kind of a funny thing. But yeah, that Rodder's Journals had some of the most famous cars. So that's as far as the pinnacle goes, that's still it. I imagine a lot of people watching know of that. But
Yeah.
so that's some of our take on literature and books and magazines.
We could go for another 3 hours of
100%.
Different books that are on the shelf. And we didn't even touch on the early V8 Club put out a great. We'll touch on them real quick.
Yeah.
Early V8 Club put out a great set of books. Some of them are harder to find.
Definitely.
Is that 33.4?
Yeah.
That one's hard to find. Some of them are still you can buy from the club.
Yep.
They still have copies of, but they haven't reprinted the 33.4 one in a while, and I think the 35.6.
Yeah. So
For restoration and parts knowledge, these books are fantastic.
These books, the most ultimate early Ford nerds in the planet have written these books. There's also the
The 32 one.
Yeah, there's a multi-series, book series about the 32 restoring a 32 Ford. So this all ties in because even though we're mainly based in hot rods and customs, this stuff is very informative. It gives you all the little things. Like they get down into the month that the pinstripe changed and the accessories, the tools. Like this 33.4 one is actually, it's completely wild. Here's the Columbia axle installation instructions for 33.4. Like little advertising pieces that they had for 33.4. I saw there was like coasters or something they had photos of in here. So it's like really neat to see that stuff because if you're trying to build a car, even if you're building a hot rod, when you get into the early V8 stuff, a lot of this stuff is so like a 1 year only. 35.6 is the same way. There's little details. It's 35 only, 36 only, 33 only.
Early, mid, late.
Yep.
Model A is really bad, but they still continue that into like 35.6. There's little differences in each year specifically.
Yeah. The window cranks I'm looking at. It's like when stock was exhausted, use the next part number or whatever.
Yep. And it also shows you the accessories, which is the cool part.
Yeah,
there's a section in there that shows you like the dealer accessories, and some of that stuff's insanely rare and hard to find. And if you're a nerd for say 33.4, you want to study that accessory stuff because it's stuff that you might just walk up at a swap meet that no one knows what it is, but you're like, I know exactly what that is.
And it's good to have if you're building a car and you're missing, like I'm opening
springs.
So there's like the deck lid spring for a rumble seat car or whatever. Like it gives you what the spring looks like, the length of the spring. So that's like the weird, stupid stuff. You might get a car in boxes.
Yep.
You're like, what the hell is this spring? And you go through these books, you're like, ooh, that's the deck lid spring. That'll help, do whatever. Like I know when I did the Skelly 34, we kind of got a lot of bits and pieces. And the cowl vent, even when I sold the car, I got lazy and never put it in. But like I was missing the spring and the rest of the ratcheting pieces to hold the cowl vent up. So I just had the hinge and the handle. So when you're driving, you hit a bump, it would shut the cowl vent all the time. And I'm like, what the heck? And then later on, I looked at one of the blow-up photos from one of these books, and it's like, oh, there's supposed to be a spring and this other stuff. And I'm missing all that. No wonder it doesn't.
Yeah. And they did a book all the way. I know they did a 40 book. I think they did 41 to 46 or 48 as well.
I've never seen those.
But if you go on the Early V8 Foundation website, you can buy what they have in stock at the moment. I know they still print the 32 book.
Yeah, that's probably the most.
37 to 40, I think you can still buy. But it's good to keep an eye out if you're an early V8 nerd.
Yeah, the 39 book was really helpful. We've learned a lot of stuff. We had for instance, one time we got in that Wisconsin weird kind of scammer dudes stuff where I got those trim rings.
Oh yeah.
And I couldn't. The guy was insisting that they were 39 accessory or whatever he was saying, and I'm like, I don't know, I never seen those, blah blah blah. And then I looked through my book to be like, let's see if this guy's real. And it was a 39 Mercury only accessory trim ring. And like, I think like no one even knew they existed. Like when I talked to people, I'm like, I never saw that. I didn't know they made one. And it's like 39 Mercury only. It was offered. Now it fits Ford wheels, Y5 wheels, but like these books have some of that information that is not on the internet. It's in some nerd like myself or yourself brain. And unless it's put out there in a book form, nobody knows it. So it's super cool. You can't find it on forums unless somebody specifically asks that question. No amount of internet searching will find it. But some of that stuff's been, put together in these books. And that's why, even though in this day and age with AI and Google Lens and all this the internet that we use, these books are super handy. So I put aside a bunch of these we got in one of the states.
Long Island. Surprisingly, Long Island, he was really into, 38, 39, but he got it a 34. I think he had all of them, actually.
I think he did also.
Because I remember selling the 30. We found them the second time we went back, but we got a full collection of all the way to 40, I believe.
Yeah, and I kept a bunch of them.
I think we kept one of each.
Oh, yeah, I do have a 41 to 48. I just didn't get to the pile. So
it's good for us because I can come up here and look through and do research.
Yeah, and we get a weird part that's, some of these estates, if the guy's really into 39s, and we know it's something good because he had a Ziploc bag, and we can go in the book and look through and go, oh, the reason he kept that because it was early 39 only.
Yeah.
And then at least we can make sure that we can mark it correctly. Also for business sense, like we want to make sure we get the right amount of money for it. So we'll, doing that research is good.
And we're saying it's a Ford accessory. Here's a photo from the early V8 book that shows it was available as a Ford accessory.
Validated.
Yes.
That's it. Here's the receipts.
Yes.
So that's a rundown on all this stuff. If you're, this is one of these podcasts where we get super nerdy on some of this stuff. So if you just are listening for stories about
Mexican and road trips, this is not
the one. This one's very nerdy. So we appreciate you guys listening. If there is on YouTube, we talk about it a lot. You can watch on YouTube. There is some visuals in this one. You can listen on Apple, Spotify, all those. But if you're listening on one of those and you want to comment, YouTube's a great place. You can go in and comment. But we'd love to hear if you have a go-to book or magazine or series of books. We'd love to hear that because I'm always looking for stuff to keep an eye out. So if you have something that you really like, you want to give a shout out, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
We can make sure everybody knows about it. And we apologize if we missed anyone that's currently publishing something.
Yes.
My brain is totally fried from trying to remember all this stuff. So we didn't purposefully leave anyone out.
And the publications come and go. Like they'll disappear for a little bit, then come back, or they've been in the background.
Like that Rotted Culture one that, went out.
Yeah.
They actually shot the Pagoda City Coupe, and then a year or two later, they fizzled out. Not fizzled out, they just went out of business. But there's a lot of those I can't remember. The names are similar between them, so we apologize if we've missed you.
We're idiots.
We're idiots.
I should cut this and put it at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, maybe you want to do that just anyways.
Disclaimer. We're dumb.
So, but thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it. If you have any ideas for future topics, we'd love to hear them. We will try to hit on. This is one that was suggested by a listener or viewer, and we finally got to it. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Catch you next time. See ya.